Today we hear Jesus proclaiming, "You are the light of the world." The you, I suggest, is both the singular you, that is each and every one of us, and that collective you. Or if Jesus had been born enough to be born in Okie, you all. You all. So I say that because of the two specific images he uses. He talks about a city on a hill, a collective, and then he talks about a single lamp on a lampstand. First, when Jesus speaks about being a city on a hill, he's talking about the visibility of our collective life. What light do we as Emmanuel Hera emit? A city isn't one person. It's a network of neighbors. It's a marketplace of shared ideas and personalities. It's a sanctuary for the weary, for those looking for a community. So if we are living out the gospel, people should notice us, right? Not because we're loud or boastful, but because, a community built on love is so rare these days, it would become impossible to ignore. Bishop Cox, who ordained me, told a story one time about a small church located in the high mountains of Switzerland, and it had been built centuries ago with great care by the villagers who lived nearby. But there was one thing that church, which was built so long ago, didn't have, and that thing was called electricity. Yet every Sunday evening, the people who lived on the mountainside opposite this village and the church would hear the church bell ring, and then they would see worshipers making their way up the mountainside towards the church. And then they would enter the church, and then all of a sudden the church would start lighting up slowly. The people had to bring light with them, so they brought their lanterns. And when they arrived at the church, they would hang those lanterns up on the pegs that were on the church wall. So the light would spread through the whole worship space and out the windows. If only a few people came to church, the light would be slightly dimmer because there would be fewer lanterns. But when lots of people came to the church, there would be plenty of light. And then almost as moving as that sight was to the other village, after the service, they would take their lanterns home to guide their steps on the way home. And at this time, to those who watched from a distance, it was a stream of light pouring out of the church over the mountainside. That was a comforting sight for those other villagers. It was a sign that all is well. God is in this place. But Jesus also uses the metaphor of a single lamp in a single house, bringing that scale down to the intimate. I mean, he moves from this big, extensive worldview of a city on a hill to a single home. So here he's talking about an individual lamp, an individual light. A lamp like will be carried by an individual up to a church. And so as you read that, Jesus is talking about how ridiculous it is to light a lamp and then hide it. I mean, why would someone hide a light? And I want to make clear that I don't think Jesus is suggesting that we are ashamed of our light or that there's some kind of evil presence that makes us want to cover up our light because we like to cling to darkness. I think he speaks to something that we all maybe have in common, or at least I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I hide my light, maybe you do too, out of this misplaced sense of modesty that we don't want others to think that we think we're holier than they are. And so maybe it's out of modesty. Maybe it's like, well, I don't want to appear too Christian because I don't want to make things awkward here in this social climate. Putting our lamp on a stand means simply being who God made you to be in the place where you are at this particular time in your life. Your good works aren't necessarily these grand gestures. They're just moments of integrity, moments of courage when you speak up for people that maybe don't have a voice. That's being a lamp. I feel the most important part of this passage is the why. Why should we be lamps? We don't shine so people can see us. They shine so they can see God. And, I mean, if you walk into a room and you turn the light on, you don't spend the whole time staring at the light bulb. You use the light to see your friends, to read your book, to navigate the space safely. Our lives are meant to be illumination to help others see God present in their own lives. And one final thought, I think it's important that the light of God brings creation together. The light of God doesn't separate and divide. Here's my favorite story, Hasidic story that illustrates. And if you've heard this before, I'm sorry, but I don't think I can tell the story enough. I'm going to tell it until I actually believe it. A rabbi once told his students, "How do we know when the night has ended and the day has begun?" And the students thought that they grasped the importance of that situation, that question, because, I mean, they, just like we Episcopalians, had specific prayers for different times of the day. There's morning prayer, evening prayer, compline in our tradition. The same is true for these students studying to be rabbis. And so they thought the importance was on the ritual associated with day and night. But so they started thinking about, okay, how do I know when it's daytime and I should do the daytime rituals? How do I know when it's nighttime to do the nighttime rituals? And so the first student said, well, Rabbi, when I look out in the fields and I can distinguish between my field and the field of the neighbor, then I know that night has ended and the day has begun. The second student said, Rabbi, when I look from the fields and I see a house, I can tell if it's my house or my neighbor's house once the day has started. A third student said, Rabbi, when I see an animal in the distance and I can tell what kind of animal it is, whether it's a cow or a horse or a sheep, that's when night has ended and the day has begun. And then a fourth student offered yet a final answer. Rabbi, when I see a flower and I can make out the colors of the flower, whether they're red or yellow or blue, then I know night has ended and the day has begun. With each answer, the students noticed that the rabbi's face became sadder, it seemed, until finally he said, no. Can you only divide? You divide your house from the house of your neighbor, your field from your neighbor's field. You distinguish one kind of animal from another. You separate all the colors from all the others. Is that all we can do? Divide and separate and split the world into pieces? Isn't the world broken enough? Isn't the world split into enough fragments? Is that what our Torah is for? No, students, it's not that way at all. The students looked confused, and then one said, well, Rabbi, then tell us, how do we know when night has ended and the day has begun? And the rabbi then, with a voice gentle, responded, when you look into the face of the person who is standing or sitting beside you, and you can see that that person is your brother or your sister, then the night has ended and the day has begun. So for us, we're called to be light. We're called to add our light. And in this way, we can help the world see the light of God and be seen by God.